Welcome to Athens Happens. I'm Emily Zeiler, Digital Managing Editor at The New Political.
And I'm Kuhn, Senior Digital Producer.
Athens Happens is a podcast brought to you by The New Political, a student publication dedicating to explaining the nuances of Ohio University, Athens, and state politics.
You can find new episodes on Monday at thenewpolitical.com or wherever else podcasts can be downloaded.
On this episode, we sit down with Henry Jost, a staff writer at TNP, about his article on a transition for Ohio University students from online to in-person. How are you, Henry?
Doing pretty good today. How about you?
I'm very tired, but thank you for asking. So
I wanted to start with just a brief overview of what exactly the transition from online to in-person looks like for OU.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a bunch of different things. Like, for one, if you're here on campus last year, you go outside, and I'm sure most people are shocked to see that there's way more people walking around. But it also has to do with, the mental health of many students. You know, this is a challenging time for many people. It's not normal to be in this situation for most college students, but everyone's kind of figuring that out as we go along. Both students and professors. So it's a little bit of both of that.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. Were you able to talk to any professors about okay, can you give us what their perspective about this whole transition has been?
Yeah, should I say the name of the
You
professor?
can if you want.
Yeah, well, I talked to students and professors, and technology has been a very difficult thing that professors and students had to navigate. If a student tests positive for COVID, the professors have to figure out how to incorporate that student into the classroom. And if you test positive, you're gone for 2 weeks, and that's a big challenge when you're, a sophomore in college. So that has been difficult for students and professors, and they've had to communicate. Communication has been a big part of this transition because everyone needs to be on the same page, and since everyone is going through challenges.
So was there a generally held feeling amongst people you talk to? Like they all kind of tend to agree about how they feel?
Yeah, everyone this summer, it seems like it was going to be more normal, but with the Delta variant, it kind of, held us back a little bit. Now we have the COVID precautions are a little more tight, so I think everyone's a little disappointed, but yet that's also encouraged more people, to get vaccinated and, take care of themselves and one another's. But I think people are also very optimistic because, the past 2 years we've been, isolated from one another, stuck online doing classes. And now for many, this is their chance to meet new people, see people on campus, and interact with others, which has been something that a lot of people have not had the opportunity to do over the past years. And for many, this is, they might be a sophomore, but this is their first time actually stepping foot on campus, which is a big, wake-up call into the real world. So I think most people are very excited to be back in the classroom, and they're willing to accept the challenges that maybe come their way in order to be in person and meet new people.
Okay. Speaking of getting vaccinated, I just wanted to throw it out there real quick that by the time this episode comes out, the first deadline for being vaccinated will have already passed by just a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the deadline's tomorrow, October 15th.
Yep.
For the first dose, at least.
Yeah. And then the second dose is November 15th. Yeah.
Which they are doing. I did see earlier in Baker that I think it's the nursing. At least they were all in scrubs. They're doing vaccine clinics actually in Baker.
In Baker? We're at in Baker.
I don't know what floor, but I saw people say that there was a vaccine clinic, and I saw tables set up. So
Okay.
maybe the third floor.
Okay. It's interesting. They've got that new medical school locked down as well. Well, not locked down, but
Oh,
like set up
Heritage.
for Heritage
Yeah.
over on West Union, set up for
Mhm.
vaccinations for, I think the whole I think that's like technically the city county vaccination site.
Oh,
So
is it
like the
actually?
whole, I think so.
Huh.
Mhm.
Governor DeWine was there.
Yeah, he was
No.
that was a while ago.
I have pictures.
Yeah, I think that was the day I got my vaccine, actually.
Yeah.
Missing my like a couple minutes. So.
That was like 7 months ago or something. I think that was like in March, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a quick question for you. Were you on campus at all last year, or is this your first semester on campus?
I was on campus second semester,
Okay.
so that definitely helped because when I stepped on campus this semester, I was like, it's like I'm in the big city or something. There's like no one on campus last year, so that kind of helped with my understanding of this transition.
How have you personally felt about like the transition with classes being here, being in Athens with like more people walking around and stuff?
I I'm personally excited to be back on campus. I was really bummed when my freshman year I wasn't able to go for a fall semester, and because it was hard, living with your parents for, you know, a year during a global pandemic. So I'm very excited to be back, but it's definitely been for me a little challenging because I feel like I've lost kind of my social skills. It's kind of like I'm learning that again. And for schoolwork in general, online is very different than in person. I feel like I benefit from it, having in person classes, but it's also the workload is a lot more, I've noticed. So just like procrastination and getting all my work done, and also kind of wanting to unleash and go like talk to people and meet new people. I've kind of had to figure out how to combine those two things, and I'm ready for the college experience, and I feel like I'm getting that. So
Hmm. I actually do have like one more question for you. Sorry. Um, when you were like going through like researching and like writing this article, were you able to like find anything out about like the mental health that like both students and professors have been feeling like during this transition?
for both professors and students.
Anything you have.
Either or, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the statistics I put was like 85% of students were in their academics were negatively affected by this pandemic, which is a big number. I mean, it's not hard to understand that that's the reason why. But one of the professors I talked to, he was ready to get back into the classroom, but he was also worried about catching COVID and possibly taking it back to his family. So I feel like that definitely takes a mental toll because, you want to do your job and help students out, but also you have to be, careful because we're still in a global pandemic. And uh, for students, it's hard trying to stay on top of classes and your homework, but you are also scared of getting sick with COVID. So I don't want to say it's like a risk students are taking, but it messes with the mental health.
It definitely does. I said in my
Mhm.
one in-person class that only meets once a week in person, and all I can think about is what if the dude right next to me tests
Mhm.
positive for COVID?
It
Yeah.
reminds me of that quote you might remember from when the pandemic first started. It was from a story. I can't even remember if if it was a TNP story or not,
Mhm.
but there was a professor that said that he viewed his students as not people, not the kids he's teaching, but as vectors of death. That was like the
Mhm.
exact words that he used. And
Hmm.
I remember that because it was like so
Yeah.
it's so strange to think that that's kind of exactly right in a
Mhm.
way, because it could be anybody. But I mean, now that everybody's sort of getting vaccinated, we have
Mhm.
like 80% or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a little different now, but
Well, and it's also been hard mentally, when you go into a classroom, it's like, it used to be like, who am I going to sit next to? Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, how am I going to make friends on the first day? But now it's like 6 feet, mask up. It's kind of hard to meet people in your classes, especially like getting like a group chat together and like talking about your class. I feel like that hasn't been a big part of
Yeah,
my
it's like
classes so far.
the only people I talk to in my classes are people I knew before
Mhm.
everybody had to not, sit next to each other and wear face masks. So it's like a little harder to make a personal connection when you can't even see the
Yeah.
bottom half of somebody's
I was
face.
gonna say that's kind of like a funny thing that's been kind of resulting is that when you finally pull down your mask, even to like take a sip of water in class, people are like, "Oh, that's what you look like." It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's what happens to me at work," and it's
Yeah.
like, "Yes, I do look like this. I'm not wearing a mask 24/7."
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Is there anything I should add?
I don't think so. I think you got it.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Athens Happens. Make sure to check out thenewpolitical.com for podcast episodes and other content. Thank you, and until next time.